Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, Spencer here with the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Of course, the blog is NichePursuits.com. And thanks for joining me here for episode 70. I wanted to do a quick intro for this one because I've got a great interview with Zach Vohries. He's the founder and CEO of Zackees Turn Signal Cycling Gloves, and their website is Zackees.com. And I'm really excited to bring this interview to you today because he not only covers his very interesting story, the entire background of how he got to creating a cycling glove, and also how it's doing, but then he dives into a lot of the detailed information needed to rank your product properly on Amazon, categorization, and then search engine optimization for Amazon as well. To date, they've sold about 3,000 units, and that's only in a period of about 6 months from when they've actually started selling the gloves on Amazon. But the journey started a couple of years ago when they started with their first prototype, and now they've eventually taken this original, unique invention that does have a patent on it. And so just hearing Zach's story from going from idea to original invention and the whole process of getting it manufactured and finding a good manufacturer, and then learning how to get the product listed properly on Amazon, which can be a bit of a task, as he explains, when you're the first one to ever sell this product. It's a new invention. So whether or not you're somebody that has your own invention, this certainly will help you if that's the case. But even if you're not, there's so many tips here that he shares for ranking in Amazon and things that you can do to properly market your product that I think it's worth a listen. So yes, his company is using Amazon FBA to deliver the cycling gloves, but it goes way beyond that, this story. It's not just a simple private label product. It's an original invention. It's a unique product that he had to go through the growing pains of getting it manufactured. And so I'm excited to bring this interview to you today. I definitely recommend that you check out his product on Zackees.com. That's Zackees.com. Or of course you can find the product on Amazon by searching either Turn Signal Cycling Gloves or just Zackees. So I hope you enjoyed the interview. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Haas from NichePursuits.com. And today we've got a guest with us. We've actually got Zach Vohries from Zackees.com. He's the founder and CEO of Zackees Turn Signal Cycling Gloves. So Zach, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. We've had a little bit of interaction through email, and we're going to discuss why we did that before. But before we do, maybe you can give us an idea of what is your professional background. What were you doing before you ever started Zackees?
So my professional background has actually been in the software industry. I started out in gaming. I moved to San Francisco to join LucasArts, where I worked on the Star Wars and Indiana Jones game. I then moved on to Google, where I spent the last 5.5 years taking the Google Earth engine and moving it to the Audi navigation system, the best navigation system in the world. I got interested in hardware because it was something that was new, and I started making widgets for my own house in my spare time. And then I got into fashion electronics when I started making clothing for Burning Man. And from there, I kind of stumbled onto a cycling glove that I thought would really help me, navigate traffic through San Francisco. And we took it to a fashion runway. The response was immediate and definite. And we realized that I was onto something. And so I set out to find other makers that would help me bring this product to market. So that's where we are today. We're 2 years after launching on Kickstarter. We're actually a year after launching on Kickstarter. We've sold around 3,000 units, and we're in Gen 2 of our product, and we're selling it on Amazon exclusives and through our own website.
Yeah, and I want to dive into the success, of course, that you've had early on with the turn signal gloves. And your background is super interesting. I mean, we could dive into what you've done at Google and designing video games and everything, but I do want to focus on this new product that you have here. Maybe you can give us a better idea of what made you decide to create the turn signal cycling gloves in the first place.
Well, the reason why I made the glove was because a young neighbor of mine was hit by a car when I was a child, and he barely survived, but he wasn't ever the same. He lost his right arm in the crash, and he woke up in the hospital with a right arm amputation at the shoulder. And when you're 10 years old, that's a really terrible thing to go through. And so I watched him struggle with that. And so, in my day-to-day life, I look out the window of my apartment in San Francisco, and I see people cycling up and down the streets every single day without a helmet, without any visibility. And I realized that cyclists need to be seen and they need to be safer, because the worst that can happen is pretty terrible. And so I realized that this is a product that the world needs, that my friends need, that I need. And so, with that determination, I decided to cash out my entire life savings and take this product to the world.
Yeah, no, that's obviously that's something that would impact you as a child, seeing that, and being able to come up with a solution that can help other cyclists is obviously a great way to go. Maybe you can give us an idea, because this is a podcast. Hopefully people do go over to Zackees.com and can visually see what the gloves are and what they do. But maybe you can just describe for maybe people that are lazy and they're out on their jog, just listening to our podcast, what exactly is a turn signal glove? What does Zackees do?
So a turn signal glove is the world's best cycling glove. I want to put that out there first. And we combine a cycling glove with an LED turn blinker, and we put that on the back of your hand, and there's an arrow that points towards your pinky knuckle, and we've got two contact plates between the index finger and thumb, and when you press your hand together, the thumb to your index finger, it closes a circuit, and then the blinker, a really bright blinker, it's like 54 lumens, starts to blink, and that allows you to communicate with other drivers on the road. Some of the features of it is that we have an ambient light sensor that is able to detect day or night mode. And so when it's in day mode, the LEDs have to get much brighter because of how bright it is outside. And so unlike other LED products, which you really can't see during the night, ours you can. And that's one of the biggest features that we've had. We've started to see other products start to sort of do the same thing. And we hope that we were an inspiration for that. And it's got super long battery life. We're one of the first products to use a rechargeable coin cell. So it's just like the regular watch cell batteries that you would normally discard, but ours you can recharge with our nifty little charger that we've designed for the product. And we're actually selling that as a separate product online at Amazon today.
The charger, yeah.
The charger.
Yeah, when I saw your product the first time, I immediately saw it and I said, whoa, this is an excellent idea. This is an excellent product as well when I saw it. But the real test is I actually showed it to my wife, and she looked at it and said, this is a really great idea. She says, because I'm a driver and I see people, making hand signals, and sometimes I don't know what that means. She's not a cyclist herself. And so seeing these gloves, she's like, I would know immediately where they're going. So you've got both my wife and I sold. It's a great idea.
Well, that's great.
Absolutely.
I hope my gloves find a home on your hand sometime soon.
Once I dust off the bike and get out cycling a little bit more, you betcha. Absolutely. Yeah. So you did mention.
I have to say that the gloves are really great if you're a cyclist and if you're a dancer, but the glove isn't for everybody. Right. It's a niche product. And that's the reason why I'm here today on Niche Pursuits.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a niche product. And, my audience knows that there's money in niches. I mean, that's why you can stand apart, and that's why you can dominate perhaps a smaller audience. You can be the big player there.
Yeah, you can really lock it down.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned some of your numbers previously. I think you said that you had sold, was it 3,000 units to date? And anything else there that you're willing to share as far as how well the company's doing right now?
We're doing well. We're in our second batch of inventory. Our first batch of inventory was actually a little bit broken. For those of you that are building a product for the first time, a low volume pilot run will fix the problems that you have. I just kind of want to give a little story here. We built our first 2,500 pairs of gloves, and it turned out that there were some manufacturing problems that crept into the build. Specifically, our gloves can be washed in the washing machine, and to do that, we put a waterproof coating onto the electronics. And what happened is that the manufacturer didn't correctly mask out part of the glove, specifically the battery holder. And so what happened is some waterproof layer fell onto the battery terminals and basically made the glove not work correctly. And this was pretty much a problem that affected every single glove that we had. And so if we had done 500 gloves, we would have been sitting in our factory space fixing 500. But because we went to 2,500, we had 5 times that amount. And so, if you're a maker, or someone that's getting product from a supplier, and it's the first build, make sure and do a pilot run so that and expect that there's going to be problems with that pilot run, and that a problem with 500 is a lot better than a problem with 2,500.
Yeah, that's great advice. I agree that, just being able to kind of be lean at the start and to go through those issues, get those issues ironed out. It's a lesson that you learned that hopefully people listening can learn from, your experience there. I think that's a great point. For anyone that has an original idea or an invention, kind of like your gloves that you have, and this could be a big question, I know, but what are the steps needed to get it designed and manufactured?
Right. So this is a really interesting and wide open question because it always depends on what kind of product that you make. I'll tell you how we did it, and hopefully that will translate well to our audience.
Sounds good.
The way that we did it is we prototyped our own product and then sent it to a manufacturer to scale it up. And the way that I first started is, let's talk about the first glove I ever made. We did that in 24 hours. I want to have a turn signal. What I did is I found a glove at retail, and it was a leather glove at the time. We took it, we opened it up, I created a circuit board, we inserted that circuit board into the glove, and we kept on modifying it until it worked, well enough to show and present at a fashion show. And from then, I was like, okay, well, the next step is just to make the next glove and make it better. And so I made that glove, and then I made another one. And then at that point, I was like, I need to have a textile expert. So I went to Craigslist, found a textile person who came in and then helped me make the modern glove that closely resembles what we have today. And so, I was making the circuit boards by hand because I'm a software engineer, I'm not a hardware engineer. A friend of mine who was a hardware engineer came in and said, I can drop the price of your glove circuitry from like $10 down to or I think it was like $30 in parts down to like 10. And so I had him over, we looked at it, and he was able to make a prototype through his ability to make circuit boards. And so now we had a glove with a circuit board in it that looked really cool. And so from then on, we started generating gloves in batches of 10. And at that time, we started our Kickstarter campaign. And our process was we found a very specific glove at retail, which worked very good for our purposes. And we retrofitted it with our own electronic layer that was sewn on top. And if you look at the turn signal glove today, it kind of looks like a glove that's been retrofitted. And that's because we went from the retrofit directly to production using the same design. The next glove that we're doing, which will be a winter glove, is pretty much a ground up design and it doesn't look like a retrofit as much. And so, we literally just went from, how do we take a glove and modify it till it works to going into production. And the great thing about that process is that if you can retrofit an existing product to contain additional functionality, it turns out that that's very compatible with the manufacturing process that your manufacturer is going to use. And the reason is that the manufacturer wants to do your invention in their defined process. So, for example, if I were to create a bike helmet, I can't, if I go to a bike manufacturing company and I say, hey, here's this radical new design, they're going to be like, we don't know how to do that, and it's really hard, and it's going to require a lot of tooling, and your 500 unit pilot run isn't really that interesting to us. And so the things that makers can do to make their life easier when they go to manufacturing is try to say, how can I take an existing product and modify it minimally so it does the functionality that I want to do. And so that's a process that we did. How do we take an existing product, add electronics in just the right ways so that it's easy to manufacture? And that's what we did, and that's what our patent is all about. If you go to our product page on Amazon for our turnstile gloves, you'll see at the bottom there's a patent reference ID, and you can Google search that and check out what it was that we did to make our turnstile glove a reality.
Yeah, no, that's great advice as well. And of course, that's going to vary for people listening, how complex their idea may be, and the ability to sort of retrofit existing products. But that is really great advice, I think. Now the difficulty in my mind would be, well, how do you find a manufacturer that's willing to do this for you? I mean, how did you guys do that? Do you contact the manufacturer of the glove that you use to sort of retrofit, or what were your steps there to find a good manufacturer?
Oh, man. So finding a good manufacturer in the United States is actually kind of hard. And a lot of places that a maker is going to go through the quote-unquote front door is going to lead them to a person that's managing the relationship between them and the factory. And that's just a recipe for disaster, because the more middlemen that you have between you and the factory, the worse it gets. And so what typically happens with a maker is that they get caught up in an American supplier or front company, and they're trying to explain to them what they want to have done. And then it's kind of like telephone tag, or, the game where you whisper into each other's ear and you try to pass the message down. And what happens is that all the details get lost in between you and the factory. And then you get back crap. And it's crap that's about twice as expensive. And a lot of people just say, hey, this is really hard, and maybe they give up. Or, the way that we were able to get around this is we started our search early on through our social contacts. And we just started asking everybody that we knew that were makers, hey, do you know anybody that is a cycling glove manufacturer? Or do you know somebody that speaks English that's in China that does trade like this, that can source? And there's individuals that do that. And we were actually at TechCrunch Disrupt, and we got, because, my name is Zackees, in the alphabet, put everybody by A through Z. So we ended up next to the Z-Board guys. And if you don't know, the Z-Board makes a really cool electric skateboard. And so we just asked them, like, hey, do you guys know anybody in China that can source, cycling gloves? I'd be really interested to know. And they said, well, actually, there's this guy. His name is Shay. He does exportsourcing.com. And he audited one of our factories, and he was really good. And so the reason why they wanted to audit a factory is sometimes they'll get a supplier, and you don't know whether they're the actual supplier or just a front company for a supplier. So they wanted to check to make sure that the supposed factory that they were going to contract a part from was actually a factory, not just some office space in Guangzhou.
Right.
So I got the name of Shay, and I called him up and I said, hey, we've got this Kickstarter. We're trying to build 2,500 gloves. Can you find us? Do you know what to do? And he's like, yeah, I've got 3 factories. And we were just like, wow, that's great. So he connected us with the factory. We sent them our design sample. They sent back a very excellent near replica what we'd given them on the first try. And so we just looked at each other and we said, you know what, like, this is it. Like, in some ways, the sample that they had sent us back was better than the design sample we sent them. And so we knew that we were going to start, multi-year relationship with this company, because as a new product, you have to have quality, and you have to, you just can't take a risk, doing the cheapest thing out there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's how we did it. It's really just traversing through the social network. And as an entrepreneur, that's actually one of the most important skills you can learn, is how to traverse through a social network, trying to find the person that can get the job done.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a whole other ballgame, because there's a lot of people that are involved in selling products on Amazon, but most of them aren't selling more original products such as your gloves are. And so a lot of people are just going directly to Alibaba.com and sort of doing their best to find a manufacturer there. But what you're suggesting here makes a lot of sense. If you're able to get a referral, if you're able to talk to somebody that you know and trust that is able to give you a good lead source to find a manufacturer, that's going to go a long way to eliminating potential pain points in your business. So any other tips for finding a manufacturer or dealing with a manufacturer, at least early on in your business?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges is communicating with the factory exactly what it is that you want. Let's say 3% of the personnel at the factory speak English, and the amount of English that they speak may not be that good. And so if you write up a long bulleted point design doc of exactly what you want, they're going to have trouble with that. What I found is that the best way to figure out, to communicate what it is that you want is to create a visual design doc. That means taking pictures. That means, doing overlays and like pointing arrows to certain parts of the product and saying, this is important and I want to have this done. And once I actually learned that from Shay when I was hanging out with him in China, and seeing how he was, crafting a document for the factory to specify what it was that I wanted. And he just took exactly what I said and created a bunch of pictures that represented that. And I went, oh my God, this is easy. I just got to create pictures. And then they don't even need to know the English language. They can understand, 90% of what it is that I'm trying to say. And so that was one of the best skill points I've ever learned with dealing with factories. And it's just been able to rapidly improve my relationship as I, source new factories for new product ideas that we're currently developing.
It's great advice. And I do have one other follow-up. I mean, you found Shay, who was able to do a lot of work for you to help you find a manufacturer. Should everyone try to find some sort of sourcing agent like Shay when they're looking for manufacturers? I mean, is that the way to go, is to kind of have a boots on the ground, if you will, somebody like that?
It definitely helps because I feel that the American mentality is a lot better at design than the Chinese mentality. They're up and coming, but they haven't had a history of innovation like the United States has. Like, the United States is pretty unique in the fact that so many of our products, rule the world. And so there's a cultural thing about design and quality that comes from, the United States or Germany and Japan. And so to develop something in China where, there's a lot of, migrant labor that is coming in from the countryside into the cities for the first time, they don't understand that same sort of sense of quality. And so to have somebody that's on the ground that can kind of quality check your stuff and, speak Chinese to the line manager and tell them what's going wrong so that you don't have to, it's something that's very useful. The other useful thing is that, if you're the first time maker like I was, it's probably going to be a really great idea to go down to the factory that's making your stuff and get a hotel room and just live at the factory for a week or two while your product is being made.
And what's the reason for that? Just to oversee the quality and make sure everything's going well?
Because the thing is that on the first build of, for example, my gloves, there was about 3 questions that they had. And there was also a problem that would have been absolutely terrible for our product. Specifically, our circuit boards that came back were in a panel, and they need to undergo a process called depanelization, which is you take the circuit board and you remove it from the scaffolding that it gets delivered in. And the problem with this is that underneath the wires, there was a piece of fiberglass that connected the one part of the circuit board to the other. And so the thing is that needed to be broken away. Now, if I hadn't been there, they wouldn't have broken away because it's like the same width as the wires. So it's almost as if it's invisible. And the only thing that you would realize is that the gloves are stiff, like the light board doesn't bend relative to the battery board. And so if I hadn't been there, 2,500 pairs of gloves would have been made with a really stiff neck between the LED board and the battery board. And because I was there, I was like, oh no, wait, these have to be depanelized with a pair of cutters. And so because of that, I was able to fix this problem, which was, really easy to fix. It just would have been multiplied 2,500 times. And that would have been a really big bummer and something that would have been impossible for us to fix.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to actually jump into Amazon optimization now, and this is going to cover several questions here that I have, kind of like SEO for Amazon, right? So, and this is actually how we got in touch with each other originally. You reached out to me looking for some ideas on how to get your Zackees listing properly placed on Amazon, because there was some issues there. But I mean, I really didn't do anything along the way. You were able to figure some things out that clearly are working now. So can you give us an idea of what was wrong with your listing?
Right. So let me first talk about the difference between a seller coming in and selling an existing product versus a new product that hasn't existed before.
Sure. Yep.
The latter has got some significant challenges to bring onto the market. You have to do essentially a penetration into the Amazon marketplace. And the reason why that's hard is due to the A9 search engine that Amazon uses to rank its products. And the way that this A9 search engine works is that it uses the history of your product in order to determine the placement of it. And so, why is your product, placed really well? Well, it's got a good sales history. And the problem is the reason why a new product can't get good sales history is because it's not ranked properly. So you got this chicken and the egg, and you need some forceful way to get that product inserted into the top pages of Amazon in order for you to be able to stay and get kind of stuck in the first few pages of the categorization of that product. So let me talk about my product category, which is cycling gloves, and we're in the sports and outdoor department. And the problem that we had is that we were not correctly categorized when we put our product into the marketplace for the first time. And specifically, the first thing that needs to be done for a product is that it needs to have the correct categorization. So this is done by a root categorization. For example, ours is sports and outdoors, and then the proper child categorization. For us, it was men's cycling gloves. Amazon provides browse tree guides, which provide the number identification that you use in order to get your product into the child category. So the question is, well, then how do we set that as the manufacturer? And the surprising answer is that you don't. And that's actually very counterintuitive. As the seller, you cannot put in the browse tree number that will correctly categorize your product. So the question is, well, how do you achieve that? And the solution is you have to go to seller support and contact them and write them a product categorization issue for your product and tell them that you want to be categorized correctly in some browse node. What they're going to do is they're going to say, well, what's your browse node ID? And they're going to give you like a little thing that says go to your browse tree guide. And when you find the number, you'll put it in and they'll correctly categorize you, but your product may not go into that category. And the reason why is that it's actually bouncing because most categories, in order to get into the proper child category, require a few fields that need to be set. Now, as a seller, you'll realize that there's like 150 attributes that you can set on your page. And most of us will not set all of them because a lot of them don't make sense. But there are for the category that you'll want to enter, there will probably be at least one or two fields which you must set correctly for your product to be categorized. For Zackees turn signal gloves, in order for us to be categorized in our home categorization, which is men's cycling gloves, we need to have the attributes of the men's department and the category ID, I think it's the item type, being cycling gloves. Once you have those two, then your product will slide into the category that you intend to have. These attributes that are required can be found in the browse tree guide on Amazon.com. If you do a search for it on Google, it's a great way for you to find the browse tree guide for your category. So that's the first thing. You have to get categorized correctly. And once you're categorized correctly, the first thing that you need to do is verify that you've been categorized. And this is actually one of the most non-intuitive pieces of information that a seller has, is how do I tell that my product is actually categorized correctly? And the most intuitive thing is that when a maker goes on to their site, they go down to the product details, which shows the product dimensions, the shipping weight, the ASIN, the average customer review, and the Amazon bestsellers rank. They're going to go down to the Amazon bestsellers rank, and they're going to believe that that is the categorization, but it's not. That is actually the categorization that you see at product details actually turns out to be what Amazon thinks your product belongs in. So one
Interesting.
Yes. And so one of the things that we found was, and I struggled with this for an entire month, which is why I was contacting you, is that Amazon thought our product was sports and outdoors, outdoor recreation, outdoor clothing, accessories. That was the categorization that thought that we belonged in. And we thought that that was the primary category. And so we're trying to figure out, well, how do we get into the correct category? We had about, I think, 10 exchanges with Amazon seller account. Finally, we got the answer that I'm going to share with you today of how to figure out whether you're verified that you're actually categorized in the correct category. And the way that you do it, it's actually a little gray string that appears at the top of your page, but you don't get it unless you put in a very specific URL. So let me tell you how to construct that URL in order for you to verify. If you go to Zackees Turn Signal Gloves on Amazon, you'll click through it. And what you'll notice is that in the URL, it will say something like amazon.com/Zackees Signal Gloves, white small, /DP B00QYEEX2C. That last number is the ASIN. To get the categorization, what you need to do is you need to go to amazon.com and then delete the Zackees Signal Gloves, white small, blah, 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 so that the next thing after amazon.com is /DP, and then the ASIN number. Okay? Erase everything else. I hit return. And then what I see right now is at the very top, right above my picture, sports and outdoor recycling, or outdoor recreation, cycling, clothes, men, gloves. So.
Yep. And I see the same thing. I just did that as well. So it's above the product pictures on the left-hand side of the page.
Yes.
For people looking at that. Yep.
And so right now I can verify that I'm actually in the correct category. Okay. So now that we've got that, the question is, well, why does Amazon still think that I'm in this generalized bin of cycling accessories? Well, the reason why is because the A9 search engine doesn't have enough information to correctly predict what category it thinks you belong in. And so what you need to do from this point is you need to get onto the front page. One of the ways that you can do this is, well, there's actually two primary ways. The first one is that you want to have a short-term FBA flash sale. This is something that is available only to FBA customers. And what you're going to do is you're going to have a flash sale of your product at a reduced price. And this reduced price is going to exist for a very short time period. And so what happens is that there's a large amount of users that will browse through these flash sales, are also called gold deals. And they're going to try to find the products that are heavily discounted. And so your product's going to end up in the front pages of this gold deal. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get a lot of traffic really fast and a flash purchase of your product. This is going to give A9 the information that it needs in order to place your product in the category that it thinks. The results of this, running this experiment on our product, was that within 12 hours, we were correctly placed in outdoor women's accessories, gloves, mittens, and liners, women's gloves, and men's gloves for a respective category. And as you can see, we were number 6 right now. We're number 16, which means we're on the front page for women's mittens and liners, number 18 for women's gloves, and we're 35 at men's gloves. We're currently off of the flash sale right now. And so, we got up to, I think, number 7 for the category. And that was really great. Now A9 search engine for us is optimized so that we appear in the category of which we belong. The second part of this is search engine optimization. Getting correctly categorized is the first step towards fully optimizing your product for findability. And right now I've talked about categorization. Turns out about 1/3 of the people will find your product through its categorization. But the rest of the 2/3 individuals will find your product through search. And so this next part, I want to talk about how to optimize your product so that people can find it by typing in the search terms that you want them to use to find the product.
Now, before we jump into that, I do want to just ask one follow-up on the product categorization topic here. So just to make sure that I understood and everybody listening understood properly, basically you can go down to where your bestseller rank is on your listing and where it shows what categories Amazon believes you should be ranked at, correct?
Yes.
Right now, it shows sports and outdoors, outdoor recreation, accessories. Anyways, people can see that below their bestseller rank. So, but that's not necessarily where you are currently categorized. That's just where Amazon believes you should be, correct? And then to get the correct category where you are, you go through that URL trick that you mentioned where you're
right. So I want to say that the category, the user specified category, is actually a hint to the Amazon engine, and it actually at the end of the day doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
It's more like telling Amazon, hey, I think it should be put into this category. So for example, if I say that I want my glove to be an outdoor recreation, cycling, clothing, men's gloves, that doesn't guarantee they'll actually end up in that category. It tells Amazon A9, hey, I think I belong in this category. And then Amazon will use that as a hint to figure out whether it really belongs there.
Gotcha. So the real kicker for you guys was that flash sale that you did that pushed it up to the first page, got all those people viewing it. That was enough to sort of turn the switch for you to show up better in that category.
Right. Once auto categorization kicks in, that's what Amazon actually uses to place you.
Okay. That makes sense. So, okay, yeah, let's move into search optimization for using keyword searches, right? You were about to go into how people find you by, typing in different phrases. So, how can sellers get their products to show up for different keyword searches?
Okay, so, this is a really interesting problem that a lot of people are going to face, and it's something that I faced. So I want to kind of tell my story about, what we went through to get correctly, placed so that we showed up when a user typed in cycling gloves. And so what we found out is that when we went to Amazon and we, after we were correctly categorized, we had that hurdle down, we typed in cycling gloves and we didn't show up. And the question is, well, why don't we show up? And so that led me into the research of, well, what is A9 doing to properly place our product in a search? And the answer turns out to be that it uses primarily the title of your product. So for example, what I used to have is, for my title, I used to have Zackees LED turn signal gloves with 4 rechargeable coin cell batteries plus charger leather palms. Now, what you didn't see in there was the keyword cycling gloves. I called my product turn signal gloves. And that actually turned out to be suppressing my listing, because people aren't searching for turn signal gloves. They're searching for cycling gloves, of which they'll stumble onto my turn signal glove. So the solution was that we changed the name to Zackees turn signal cycling gloves. So we actually put the keyword directly into the title of our product. That had a very fundamental change. Within 2 days of us doing that, we were in the second page of results for cycling gloves. The second best thing that a user can do is they can put in the keyword into the bullet points of their product. And so what you'll see as you go through is you'll see a lot of really great products keyword stuffing their title page. And so, for example, one of the widgets that we're selling is a coin cell rechargeable and the charger and plus batteries. And the thing is that in order to get more traffic, I've got to attach onto products that other people are searching for. So, for example, one of the products we found that was compatible with the coin cell charger is a electrostimulating muscle massager. So it's got a couple electrodes with some sticky gel, and you place the device on your muscles, and then a high voltage shock goes through the muscles and causes them to flex involuntarily. And that apparently has healing properties. I don't know, but apparently it's got a lot of search traffic.
Right. Okay.
And so the way that we're going to get this LR2032 charger to appear in the search results for people using this product is that we're going to insert into our bullet points a list of products that we're compatible with. And so what that means is that when someone is searching for, I think it's called Icy Hot TENS massager, I'm not sure, but when they search for that, our product's going to show up. And the person's going to go, oh, I don't want to buy batteries anymore. This is great. I've got like a watch cell and some other stuff that I can use this rechargeable for and not have to buy those pesky, coin cells anymore. And so then they'll end up buying our product serendipitously. And the more that we can keyword stuff that bullet point with compatible products, the more places we're going to appear in search.
Yeah, that's a really great tip for people trying to optimize their listing. If they can look at products that are either compatible with or comparable to the product that they're selling, I think that's some great additional keywords that they could be using in their listing as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, so that's a great point. And not to veer off too far off the track, but I'm just looking at your charger, the rechargeable coin cell charger. How's that doing on its own?
We're selling as many products of that as our turn signal glove.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, surprisingly. We're going to be there for a while. There was a Chinese person that was in there that was number one, but they had bad pictures. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do a very good job of presenting the information to the user. They definitely didn't offer a compatibility list. Mm-hmm. And so we're able to slide in there, have high quality photos. We have excellent branding, and we're building a compatibility list. And we're able to quickly shoot up ahead of them. And obviously people that know what to search for are choosing us over our Chinese competitor. And now what we hope to do is with additional optimizations, we hope to get users that are not particularly searching for a rechargeable battery, but we just show up, because they're searching for other products.
Yeah, I find this is a pretty cool way to expand your business because now, obviously, you're not just selling to people that are interested in cycling gloves, but you've expanded to people that are just looking for a coin cell charger.
Right.
And so very cool way to expand your business with that related product as well. So, yeah, let's go ahead and continue with sort of optimization overall. I mean, we talked about how people can use keywords in both their title and then bullet points and description, of course. Any follow-ups there about how they should be finding keywords they should be using, that sort of thing?
One of the great ways to find keywords is to go in to, I think there's a keyword tool that Amazon uses for its ad products. You can figure out what people are really searching for, like the search volume traffic. Trends.google.com is a great way to figure out what people are using. So, for example, if we go to trends.google.com and I type in, for example, cycling gloves, it's going to basically give me a lot of information. You should follow along with this if you aren't already, but you go to trends.google.com and then you type in cycling gloves, and it's going to show you a really interesting graph. And what you're going to quickly see is that, wow, there's a lot of spikes and a lot of valleys. And those spikes are going to correlate to October, November, December, okay? And then it falls back down by the time it gets to January and February. And the question is, well, why do we have those peaks and why do we have those valleys? Well, it turns out that cycling gloves is a seasonal product that's usually bought around Christmas. And also you can sort of surmise that people get established into a history of biking, and then once the days start to get cold and their hands start to freeze, they go ahead and they start buying product for Christmas and their cycling friends. And so what we see is that we see cycling gloves is very popular. So let's see if there's other keyword terms that we can type in that, and see how they relate. So if I take in cycling gloves and I say, well, what's best cycling gloves? What's the relative? What we do is we can see the relative search traffic between the two. And what we see is that best cycling gloves is 10% of the search traffic for cycling gloves, or maybe even less. Maybe it's 5%. Trends.google.com does not tell you what the numbers actually mean in volume. They only tell you what they're relative to. So, but it's really good to say, well, should I use cycling gloves or should I optimize for best cycling gloves? Or should I, what about LED cycling gloves? And what you'll quickly find is that, for example, LED cycling gloves is almost non-existent in comparison to cycling gloves. And so you really want to figure out how to tap into that, that fire hose of search queries that are going through the system. And so that's just a little bit of how to optimize and choose the best keywords to use in your product page. I'd like to transition to, we've talked about how to optimize for the search engine, which is a computer, but now I want to talk about how to optimize your product for the human being.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can imagine, I know for me, it's almost like writing a sales page, right? How do you get people to click that add to cart button? So yeah, absolutely. Let's, what tips do you have?
Let me tell you, for people that don't have a background in marketing, this is one of the hardest things to crack. And it's probably going to be something that you're going to toil over and spend tens of hours, maybe an entire 40-hour work week trying to figure out what exactly the best thing you can say to get your product to get that user to click the buy now on that product.
Absolutely.
And the interesting solution to this is that if you're trying to figure out what to say, you're already on the wrong path, because the correct path that I found that had dramatic results on my conversion rate turned out to be the use of high quality pictures and graphics in the product listing. And so let me tell you about, if we go back to Zackees turn signal gloves on Amazon, what are we going to see? Okay. What we're going to see on the very left so click the white glove, for example. That's the one that's been most recently optimized. What you're going to see is you're going to see a high resolution image that's zoomable. And then you're also going to see information graphics that tell us what the product is and in very high detail. This is the way that you should communicate with your users. It has been found with research over research, study after study, that high information, high resolution images are the best way to get your users to convert. For example, we saw that the conversion rate on our glove when we had just mostly text was around 0.5% to 0.75%. And then once we changed the pictures up, we saw conversion rates as high as 5%, so 10 times as much, just because of how quickly we were able to give the user all the information they needed to know about our glove as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's huge. And yeah, for anybody listening, if they want to check out how to optimize an image with text and explanations, go check out Zackees glove. I mean, I'm just looking at, your second and third and fourth pictures here. They all have call outs, that explain very well what the product does and what it's for. And yeah, it's high quality stuff that people could be implementing similar tactics on their own listings.
Yeah, one of the best sellers in paintball guns just had one image on their page, and it was like the number 2 selling paintball gun in the category. And so for a lot of people say, I need to have lots of images. That's not true. It's the quality and the amount of information that you can easily deliver to the user is the best way to convert. And then, of course, the product information down below. The strategy that we've done is that we want to have the first few pages to be high information content that explain exactly what the product does. And then our product description gives more like the experience and the actual sell of the product. For example, we've got an endorsement by cycling champion Nelson Vales, who was a 1984 silver Olympian in sprint cycling. He says that our gloves are hands down the best pair of cycling gloves on the market. And so we've chosen to have that as part of the experience of the gloves, being used out in the environment. We put that down below. And one of the reasons why we did this is because A9 tracks how long a user stays on your page as one of the metrics for ranking. And so, if we can sort of deliver high information content on the image stack at the very top of the page, but then leave something a little bit wanting so that the user has to scroll down and see additional information, then what that means is that we're causing the user to have higher engagement with our page. And therefore, the A9 search engine is going to rank us higher in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense. In addition to that, is there any sort of relationship between Amazon bestseller rank and search optimization?
So the relation with that is Amazon bestseller rank happens because you're able to get proper categorization. Users are able to find your product easily through search. And once they find your product, you're able to convert them into a paying customer. If you hit all three of those marks well, then you will rise up and hopefully become one of the Amazon bestseller ranks. Once you get into that spot, it's really hard to be dislodged.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you can't say, well, how does bestsellers rank affect your product search category? It's the effect before the cause. The cause of the bestseller rank is because you're able to move a lot of units because of those three things that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So one additional question here that we had talked about beforehand is order defect rate and how that might affect your Amazon sales. So what's your opinion there? How does that affect sales?
So Amazon, in my research, I found that, and I haven't verified this, but Amazon only checks the negative reviews over the positive or over all the reviews that you've received. It doesn't, if you've got like really great glowing 5-star reviews, Amazon doesn't care. It's all about the negative experiences from the customer. The thing that you're trying to make sure is that you don't have unhappy customers. Now, luckily, if you get an unhappy 1-star, review, if you're able to fix that review, Amazon will erase it from its memory as if it never happened. And so one of the things you want to make sure is that your order defect rate, which is defined by your product, the customer returns the product because it's broken or not as described. You want to keep that as low as possible. You want to keep that, I believe, under 0.5%. And if you could do that, Amazon will not suppress your ranking in any way. And I believe it's a threshold. So if you have an order defect rate of 0.05% or 0.001%, better does not necessarily mean that you're going to rank higher. You want to really get beyond a certain threshold so you don't get penalized.
Where can people view their order defect rate? Is that a number in the Seller Central?
It is. There is a number. I'm trying to look through my notes to figure out how to get there. There is, I know that, let's see,
I asked because I use Seller Central, but that's a number I don't think that I've ever viewed. I haven't navigated to yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we can just search.
It's something that you're going to have to search. It's an exercise for the reader. I was able to find it in 60 seconds from a quick Google search. But really, you want to look at your order defect rate. It's really critical.
Yep. No, definitely. I'm following. If I get any returns, obviously you want to make sure you're not doing something wrong there. But negative reviews. Is there any way that you can get those removed once somebody has given you a negative review?
We've gotten most of our negative reviews that we've ever had removed, just to give you an example.
And how did you do that?
We reached out to the customer. One of the ways is that you leave a comment. And this is the great thing about if you have a small business is that the founder can reach out. The founder is the best person to reach out to the customer. The customer feels really special.
Mm-hmm.
But the founder or CEO reaches out directly to try to solve the problem. So we just, sometimes the customer will contact us through Amazon. And if that's the case, that's really great because then we've got a direct connection to the user. Sometimes we just have to leave a comment in response to their comment saying, hey, this is the CEO or founder. We take your happiness really seriously. Please reach out to us. Let us know how we can make this right for you. and deliver you a 5-star experience with our product. And what it turns out is that 70 to 80% of the people will respond favorably to that. And through the course of your interaction with them, they'll remove the negative review.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I can say that I had a similar experience, actually. I got a negative review on one of my products, and I reached out to them. And just through the interaction, some back and forth there, they did remove that. So
yeah,
it can definitely happen. It's not something where once it's there, you just forget about it. People should be following up and actively trying to make their customers happy, like you said.
Right. And one of the great things about one of the neat little tricks you can do is there's a whole category of negative feedback that can be removed without having to reach out to the seller. So, for example, if the person says, hey, I had a problem because the product was late, so I'm going to give it a 1-star review. Okay. You can actually report that as bad. And there's a guideline, and I can't remember where it is, but you can Google search it. There's a guideline of a classification of negative reviews that can be removed by the Amazon staff.
Okay, that's good.
And so, for example, one of those is any problem that resulted through the FBA system. So the fulfillment by Amazon, if Amazon delivered the product late or the product was really mashed up, because, the delivery man dropped it or played kickball with it, that's not the fault of the seller. And so Amazon's got an accelerated process to remove those reviews that fall into that sort of FBA category.
Very cool. That's good to know. Now, perhaps the final question here, I did want to talk about Amazon exclusives a little bit. Maybe you can tell us what Amazon exclusives is and how did you get your product into that?
So Amazon Exclusives is a new program that they have that allows brands that make their own products to get into the Amazon store and to get past that initial barrier of entry, which I talked about at the beginning of this podcast. And so what they do is that in exchange for a higher affiliate fee on your product, they will give you a certain number of customers each and every day to look at your product. We were one of the first individuals to be on this new pilot program. And when we launched in March, we ended up being one of the featured stories that got attached to the Amazon Exclusives launch that went literally worldwide. And so when Engadget reported that Amazon was opening up their exclusive store to put innovation in front of customers, they used a picture of our glove, which was really awesome. And about half the blogs either mentioned us or used our product picture directly when talking about Amazon exclusives. We found that this has been really helpful in getting our product out there. Unfortunately, it had a bunch of optimization problems that prevented us from converting that well at the beginning. But since then, we've fixed that. And we've been very happy with the results.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to be able to get into Amazon exclusives and to get all of that coverage. And we didn't even go into a lot of that, but I know that you had a lot of press coverage as far as being in different blogs and online news sources, and of course your whole Kickstarter campaign. So there's a lot of your story that we didn't have a chance to dive into. But before we kind of sign off here and end the podcast, is there any final thoughts or final suggestions for people that maybe are looking to create their own product and sell it on Amazon?
Yeah, for somebody that wants to create their own product on Amazon and sell it, the biggest advice that I can give is you're going to be really frustrated with Amazon. Amazon system it's been around for like 10 or 15 years. And, with successful businesses, there's this fear of breaking the machine. And so what happens with these legacy systems is that they're non-intuitive a lot of the times. And so for people that are getting into the Amazon system, know that yes, Amazon is a very frustrating experience. And the thing that should keep you going, forward is to realize that if it's frustrating for you, it's frustrating for everybody else. And that if you're able to get through that hurdle and push through that barrier of entry and get to the other side, what you're going to discover is there's not a lot of people surprisingly, there's not a lot of products that do that well on Amazon. Most of them, kind of go into the basement of the Amazon search results, and they don't really move a lot of products. And so makers should treat Amazon as almost a full-time job for a while and learn everything that they can about how to get their product featured well and, optimize for search, categorization, and user conversion. And if you can do that, then your product will just sell day and night on the weekends. You can take a vacation. The Amazon search engine is hard at work selling your product. And that's a really worthwhile experience. And so for those that are having frustrations, I urge you to keep with it. Keep your chin down. You're going to feel frustrated, but remember that it's a learning process. And you're going to get better at learning how to sell on Amazon.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can echo those thoughts as well, that it can be a little bit frustrating at times learning the entire process, but there's a huge reward to going through that because of just the marketplace that Amazon has built in, and you certainly can take advantage of that. So, yeah, I just want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and sharing your thoughts, what you've learned here with your business.
Thank you, Spencer.
Yep, absolutely. And for people listening in, they should absolutely go over to Zackees.com where they can learn more about your product and about your story. Is there anywhere else that you'd like to send people, or if people wanted to get in contact you, where can they go to do that?
If people want to contact me, the best place to do that is you can send an email to info@Zackees.com. That's Zackees.com. If people are looking for some optimization help, I can share my experiences with them. I won't do it for free, but I will do it enthusiastically, and I hope to find other makers out there that I can bring a lot of value to. So feel free to reach out to us at info@Zackees.com and address your email to Zach, and it will find me. So
awesome. Yes, thank you again so much for coming on to the Niche Pursuits podcast. It's been great hearing your story.
Thank you very much, Spencer.
All right, and to everybody listening in, thanks a lot again, and best of luck in your business.